And one of the things that central banks around the world keep an eye on is obviously what the Fed's doing, how they're positioning, what their rhetoric is like. And I think what it does this week is open the door now for other central banks to turn a bit more hawkish, talk rates higher, etc., as per what the Fed has done. So, look, I think the key message is still rates lower for longer, but they're acknowledging the better than expected backdrop for economic growth that we've been seeing.
What about the fact that the US dollar has torn higher? The Australian dollar, 75 US cents. We haven't seen that handle for quite some time now. Is that influencing any strategy calls right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it speaks to the crowded trade that was sort of the long Aussie dollar against the US currency. Obviously, the US currency's been weak. It's been, the consensus trade is to been short the US dollar. That unwound this week, so we saw a big reversion and a big spike in the US dollar. That's had a negative impact across the resources space. So we're seeing a reasonable amount of weakness in the resources companies here. So I don't think this is the end of the reflation trade, but I think it's an acknowledgement that it's a crowded long. And crowded longs are very much susceptible to hiccups, and I think that's what we've seen. So, from our point of view, we've been highlighting, the potential for this to happen. We've sort of tilted more overweight the IT stocks and the healthcare stocks into this recent weakness and sort of taken money out of some of the resources plays. And I think that theme probably continues in the short term.
Do you think that it spells an end to the resources super cycle that we've, of course, been seeing with, of course, a weaker US dollar, lots of cheap money around at the moment?
Yeah, it's been a buzzword, the super cycle in resources. So as I just said, I don't think it is the end of that rhetoric about commodity prices remaining strong, but I think it gets a lot more choppy from here going forward. So obviously each commodity is a little bit different, but the one equaling denominator is the US dollar. So I wouldn't expect the US dollar to rally too much further. It's obviously been a short, sharp repositioning around the US dollar, but I don't think this is a hugely sustainable change in trend. So I remain pretty bullish overall the reflation trade. I think just in the very short term, as I said, the cyclical companies, the resource names, etc., got really well owned. And I think that's sort of unwound in the short term. So I'm not a buyer here, but I would be a buyer at lower levels again, back into the resources sector.